So, Le'Veon Bell is headed to the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champ, signing the three-time Pro Bowl running back to a one-year deal. Big boost for that KC offense after two very disappointing and unproductive years with Adam Gase and the Jets. Bell elated, taking to Twitter with this: Kansas City, Chiefs Kingdom, thank you for the opportunity. Let's go. Look how he already has the uniform on. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes, equally as excited, tweeting, "Welcome, my brother. Let's get it." So, Nick, when we talked about this yesterday, you didn't seem 100% sold on the idea. Now that it has, you know, some truth to it, and it has settled in a little, have you changed your tune at all?
Listen, I don't think the Chiefs needed Le'Veon Bell, but I also don't think there is much risk involved here. They obviously, I don't think he'll be a bad locker room guy, but if he is, they could get rid of him. He picked the Chiefs, I think most notably over the Dolphins, which is telling of a few things. One is, it's not about which city is better to live in and nightlife, because being from Kansas City, I can say this. Listen, if you're a married family and want to have a nice town, low cost of living, raise a family, great. If you're young, rich, famous, Le'Veon Bell, Miami's a touch better to live. And Miami would have given him the ball a bunch more, and he chose the Chiefs anyway, which says to me he wants to play for a team that can, and I believe will, win the Super Bowl and play in big games. I'm just curious how they're going to use him. When you have the most talented quarterback in the history of the NFL, maybe the best receiver in the league in Tyreek Hill, the best tight end in the league in Travis Kelce, you don't want to be pounding the running game. So if they're going to use Le'Veon Bell as a screen option, as a guy who they can break out into the slot, as they can confuse defenses by having what looks like a running set where you have two wide receivers, a tight end, and two running backs, and all of a sudden they're five wide because Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell are split out along with Kelce, then that's really intriguing to me. But I don't think, Brandon, it is a game changer for Kansas City, but it is a little insurance against the rookie hitting the rookie wall that you talked about, and we'll see if Le'Veon Bell can rejuvenate his career after he's been in hibernation for a year and a half, or 2.5 years.
Nick, this is a big deal. Are you kidding me? I said it yesterday, let's not talk about him as the running back right now. Let's talk about him as the pass catcher. He has 381 receptions. He's a receiver. This guy can do it all. You can line him up outside. He can run the entire route tree if you let him. He runs beautiful slants, stop routes, goes. He adjusts on the back shoulder. This guy can absolutely ball. And when you talk about putting him with Andy Reid in that screen game, misdirection screens, it's going to be electrifying to watch him when he gets back out there. Now, he has 5 days that he has to go through this COVID protocol, so it's going to take it's going to take some time to get him in that organization and out on that practice field. But when he does, it's going to be a show because this guy can do it all. And you talked about running the ball. He can run the ball. He has so much gas left in his tank. He's been sitting on the bench for two years. Think about where he was before he came to the Jets. This guy was one of the most premier backs in the league. He could do it all. So when you think about how the Pittsburgh Steelers used him, there's an argument that Andy Reid can probably use him better. This guy has vision. He has feet. He still has his burst. I'm excited to see him. They told me in 2011 when they traded me from the Dolphins that I was done. And I went for 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, All-Pro, Pro Bowl. And then they did it again, traded me from the Dolphins, from the Bears to the Jets, and another 1,500 yards. Oh, Brandon's going to be a red zone threat. He's done. He's washed up. He's 32 years of age. 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns, All-Pro, Pro Bowl. And that's what Le'Veon's situation reminds me of that. Everybody thinks he's done. I don't. I think he's going to be explosive and electrifying.
Yeah, I buy that. He said he had something to prove on Twitter, Nick, so I think he's going to have a chance because the Chiefs, to break it to anybody, aren't great at running the ball. If you take out that Texans win, that Clyde Edwards-Helaire looked like the Rookie of the Year. They're actually 19th in rushing. They only rush for 108 yards a game. And I know Nick will tell you, no, that doesn't matter. Like, it does. But the problem with Le'Veon Bell, I hate to be like an Adam Gase supporter on Island of One, just me and Kevin Wild, like, it's okay to question that, like, he never had a 100-yard game. He had 264 carries, Brandon. He never broke a 20-yard run. So I think he has something to prove. I'll be rooting for him. And then, Nick, for you, your upcoming schedule. You got a Bills loss on Monday. Then you got the Broncos. Then you play the Jets on November 1st. This November 1st game, if I am Le'Veon Bell, I'm going to Andy Reid and say, I just want to torch the Jets. I want to have like an old Priest Holmes game. Just like, give me the ball. Let me score 5 touchdowns on these guys. I would be very upset at the Jets the way that my career ended. Well, not career, my tenure ended there, Nick.
No, and by the way, when you look at that schedule, you can see why the Chiefs going 14-2 is not only in play, it's the likely result. Because they're not going to lose against the Bills. Then they have the Broncos, the Jets, the Panthers, revenge game against the Raiders. Then they play a senior citizen quarterback, Broncos again, and then that final month. So, but I want to talk about what this represented to me as a Chiefs fan. This represented to me the final step in the Chiefs' evolution into the Patriots of this decade. Because the first step to becoming the next Patriots is you win a Super Bowl. Check. Second step is go into next year as the overwhelming favorite. Check. Third step is have your close wins dissected as losses, and when you do actually lose, it's a 5-alarm media fire. Check. Fourth step is have your supporters in the media and as fans become increasingly obnoxious. I'm helping that. Check. And the fifth and final step is whenever there is a formerly elite player who gets cut by a team, where does he land to rejuvenate his career? Your doorstep. Sure. So while Brandon's talking about what happened with him, what I am more reminded of, what happened with one Randy Moss. Randy Moss, an all-time record-breaking start to his career, just like L. Bell, then went out in the wilderness with the Raiders for a few years. And folks, I mean, the Patriots gave up a 4th-round pick for Moss. There were real questions. What does he have left? And he had the greatest single season a receiver has ever had. Now, I'm not predicting that for L. Bell, but I do think there is a possibility, Brandon, that no one would have been successful running behind that offensive line with New York, with that offensive system, with that dysfunctional franchise, and now similar to what Randy was dealing with in Oakland, and now we are going to see, well, hell, if he's 80% of what he was in Pittsburgh, he is a massive, massive asset, because, Brandon, when he left Pittsburgh, he was the NFL's all-time leader in yards per game from scrimmage. So if he's just close to that, it is an added weapon for Andy Reid and the Chiefs.
100%. Let's go back. McCagnon wanted, the general manager for the Jets, wanted Le'Veon Bell, blockbuster free agent that year. Coach Gase didn't. Why didn't he want him? Because his recipe for success, going back to the Peyton Manning days in Denver, it worked for them. They shared the backfield. There was 2 to 3 running backs. That's who he is. That's what his offense was. McCagnon forced this. And that's why this thing was doomed from the beginning, and you hear this story play over and over again. But you fast forward to today, Le'Veon Bell can still do it. He trains down here in South Florida. When I tell you every single day he's getting after it, he's getting after it.